So I see that Laura says hi. So to get started, today was supposed to be a very, very happy day news from our side. And it is a very, very happy day news, but we also have a sad news. So I'll tell you both. I'll start with the bad news, so then we move on to the good news. So you all know at now in the central team, we have 3 people working full-time until now. So it's myself, Andrea, my co-founder, and Laura, the campaign manager. Unfortunately, Laura had COVID and she needs to take a bit of time off to take care of her health, which means that she won't be doing those live Q&As in the foreseeable future, and that she won't be leading the campaigns right now. However, at now, we love Laura. She's done an incredible job. We just came out of a call with members from all over the world who joined to say thank you for her before she leaves for a short time. So we can't wait to have her back very soon. But as a result, because a key member of our small but powerful team is leaving us momentarily, we ask you to send her all of your good vibes and good thoughts. I know we will miss her and you won't see her for a bit on our social media. But again, as we said, she'll be back very soon, as we like to say, healthier than a horse, and ready to take on the biggest challenges that the world has to offer. So that was a bit of the sad news we had today. Obviously, health is more important than anything in the world, so we just can't wait to have her back. But on the positive side, and I'm saying this because we've all been very sad the whole day, so I'm trying to move on. But on the positive side, we have finally a new social media manager who joined us. You'll see her soon on the Instagram stories. Her name is Zoe. She's incredibly talented. We're super lucky to have her. She just moved to London from Hong Kong. She used to work for great organizations. Just today, we had a couple of brainstorming calls with her, apart from the fact that she wowed all of us in the interview process. I see that she says hi on Instagram. Apart from this, today we just had a couple of calls already about the community aspect, the communication aspect, how to engage meaningfully members, how to have an impact. And she really helped us already in our thinking, in the next steps, and so on. So bad and good news. So everyone, you can welcome Zoe. She'll be the one talking to you through our social media. She'll be the one amplifying the voices of the campaign through the communication. She'll be working with local teams all over the world to bring their message, to bring them forward and connect people across the world. So it's very, very exciting. It's a great time. And we're super lucky to have such talented individual on board. And I'm not just talking about the staff members we have, but also all of the volunteers that dedicate their time and energy to now. And I'm just checking at the same time the comment. That's why sometimes I take a break. But so that's on the now side. It's 2021. It's already a busy year. It's halfway through the month, but it feels like it's already 6 months in. We are lucky to be expanding the team so that we can tackle a lot more issues. And this is really needed right now. So I'll jump straight into the content. As always, ask me questions. I'll answer them as I go. As you know, or as many of you know, I guess, we've been working a lot on the democracy campaign. So since the 3rd of July 2020, since the introduction of the national security law in Hong Kong, we launched a campaign we call the Wave of Freedom, with the idea that democracies need to unite to protect freedom fighters. So if you take the example of what's happening in Hong Kong, Hong Kongers have been protesting, have been doing everything on earth to protect their rights and their democracies. But what we were told by a lot of people, and it's how we started this campaign, a lot of people in Hong Kong and a lot of organizations, is democracies need to move. They need to act. They need to go beyond the strong worded statements, but actually do something. And so we started advocating for this idea of a League of Democracies, which I found to be a super cool name. It makes me think of a superhero leagues. But it's basically big democracies coming together from all over the world to protect democracy. So, for example, by imposing coordinated sanctions on individuals that are responsible for a crackdown on democracy. So, for example, it could be CPP officials, it could be the Venezuelan government, it could be the current president of Belarus, not the opposition one, obviously, but on those that are responsible for cracking down on democracy, targeted economic and diplomatic sanctions. And there's lots of other ways if democracies actually work together and unite for them to impact change. And the reason for which this needs to happen is a lot of authoritarian regimes like China are incredibly powerful economically. So you see it when Australia tried to stand up to China, they were hit by trade tariffs very quickly. And so this is when it's key for democracies to unite so that they can support one another to protect democracy. But it's not only key for democracies to unite to protect democracy. It's also key to unite to be able to innovate it. And this is one of my part of the League of Democracies that I love the most. And it's great to want to protect it, but democracy is never, I believe, fully achieved, fully won. And what I mean is, our tech capacities are evolving, our models of participation are evolving. We can always make it stronger, make it better, make it less prone to authoritarian trends. And this is when working together across the world, uniting and really learning from one another is key. And I'll give you a concrete example. And I talked about it a bit recently on social media, Taiwan. So I'm European. In Europe, we know very little in general about Taiwan. And I'm making a big generalization. But I've been really impressed with the Taiwanese model of governance, with its democratic practices, with its participatory methods, and its digital democracy. I think it's one of the most impressive models that is being worked on and tested right now, and has been for the last decades. And so I've been talking about it a bit with friends here in Europe, and with politicians here in Europe, with activists here in Europe. And often the first response I get is, but are you sure it's really a democracy? I mean, come on, it's like not a real democracy. Which is a complete misconception due to a certain number of factors, such as the fact that there's been multiple campaigns against Taiwan, that Taiwan has been sidelined on the international stage because of the Chinese Communist Party's push for this, and so that we know very little about it. The fact is, Taiwan is one of the strongest democracies on earth. On its freedom index, from, I think, Freedom House, it ranks higher than the US. On the democracy index by The Economist, it's just under the US. It's just to give you a bit of a comparison. Like, it is one of the strongest democracies on earth. And it's also looking at new techniques. So if you had a League of Democracies, going back to my original point, sorry, I diverted. If you had a League of Democracies of countries working together and who would be sharing the methods they're using to increase participation by citizens, to make sure that citizens can have a voice, which leads to better policy making and so on, we would be bettering democracy on a day-to-day basis. And this is when I think that this club, this League of Democracies working together has a huge potential. It means that, people would be able to protect democracy, protect freedom fighters, and also innovate and better democracy. I don't know you, but I found it pretty cool. I think that Andrea, my co-founder, will be posting the links to join this campaign on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so that you can check it out. And so the reason for which I was telling you it's key right now to amplify our voice and to really start working a lot together, and for which we're so happy that Zoe, the new social media manager, joined us, is because it's also very urgent. So obviously, it's not like democracy is doing great across the world. It's been in constant decline since 2015. And it has been going back across the world since 2015. And we see massive crackdowns that are, it's not just, hypothetical crackdowns. Those are events that are impacting the lives of millions of people whose freedoms are being taken away. It's the case in Hong Kong, where democracy leaders are being imprisoned for a very long period of time and where you can't anymore speak your mind about democracy. It's the case in Belarus, where elections were stolen and people's power and protest have been cracked down upon. People have been tortured. There's allegations of rape at protest, imprisoned, and so on for protesting for democracy. It's the case in Venezuela, where the last democratically elected National Assembly, which I think was elected in 2015, was just officially replaced by a new one, which, wasn't even really elected. There was almost no participation, no fair elections, and so on. The National Assembly, by the way, continues to exist, the rightfully democratically elected one, and tries to continue to operate as an alternate government. But we see across the world democracy being cracked down upon. And it's not just in those countries. This is happening everywhere. The COVID crisis gave really a lot of opportunities for, even in democracies, leaders to crack down on freedoms and rights and take a bit more power. And this has been reported widely across the world. And so we see this happening, and we see this trend getting worse. It's not getting better, it's getting worse every single day. We see that people across the world are paying the price. People my age, your age, are being imprisoned for we don't know how long, for literally wanting a better future. And the thing is, we have the power to do something about it. We can protest, we can take action, but more than this, we can demand the creation of a League of Democracies. And I'll tell you how. This summer, the G7, which is 7 of the biggest economies, also a very, very non-inclusive group of countries from the West coming together to preserve sometimes a bit the old world order, will be coming together in the UK. But the thing is, this summit, the G7, has a lot of publicities and a lot of powerful countries in it. So now we said, okay, what we want to do is to lobby those governments, to work with those governments so that they introduce a motion at this G7 to say, us, some of the biggest democracies on earth, some of the biggest economic powers on earth, we will commit to coming with countries from all over the world, to coming with Taiwan, to coming with democracies from all over the world, and create a League of Democracies. And like this, we will be able to support freedom fighters that are being imprisoned, that are being cracked down upon, that are risking their lives. We will be able to protect freedom and democracies and innovate it and better it and give more of a voice to citizens. And the date of the G7 meeting was just agreed on this week. It will be happening in June. It's a bit faster than we expected. It often happens in August in the UK. The good news is we already have politicians from quite a few G7 countries that promised to bring forward a motion for a League of Democracy in the national parliament to make their governments bring this forward at the G7. So we're not very far. This is actually something that could be discussed at the G7. This is actually something that could be happening very soon. We could see the biggest democracies, the biggest economic powers coming together and actually deciding to unite with democracies all over the world just for democracy. Not only for economic gain or trade advantages, although, if democracies find this a compelling way to have other countries become more democratic, that's great. But for the pure and beautiful idea that we will have a voice, that we can all participate, that a democratic model of governance is the way to go. So right now we're working extremely hard on this. We're spending a lot of our energy having meetings with politicians all over the world. Our local teams are working very hard on this. We started a few months back the Fridays for Freedom protest, which are basically every Friday we protest in front of government buildings, demanding that world leaders do more, that they unite, that they create this League of Democracy, that they stand with Hong Kong, that they stand with Venezuela, that they stand with Belarus. We demand that they actually start working for democracy. And those protests have gained quite a bit of attention, both online and offline. So we keep them going. Obviously, it's tough with COVID. It makes it tougher to protest, and it's not always safe. So when we can't, we ask people to take a picture from home and post it online with a hashtag tagging us so we can amplify the voice and show that there's still a number of people that support this. An idea is for the next 4 months until the G7 meeting in June in the UK, we protest, we take those actions as much as needed. We're also going to launch this week or next week global virtual protests where politicians from those countries will be giving speeches about the need for democracies to support them. And in those global virtual protests, we want to really reach millions of people to show the G7 that they need to start acting on democracy, that this is the priority. And we are spending a lot of energy on this. And Zoe, who's a new social media manager, I'm repeating it a lot for the newcomers, since you'll be seeing a bit of her behind our social media accounts. We'll be spending a lot of her energy as well, working for this so that we can very quickly support all of those on the front line that are risking their lives. So this is on our League of Democracy. I'm super excited. It's honestly happening so fast. When you think about it, it's 4 months until the G7, and we can actually change the way the world is working. It's very serious, and it's amazing to think that we can have this impact. And so for this, if you're interested, Andrea already sent the link. It's also in our bio on Instagram, and it's on our Facebook page. Please join the campaign. If you don't have time, literally take 2 seconds out of your day and sign a campaign to demand that the G7 creates this. Best case scenario, you help in strengthening democracy across the world. Worst case scenario, well, you supported the democratic movement. That's already pretty good. It only takes filling in your data and signing a campaign. So please do it. It's important. Stand with freedom fighters, stand for democracy. So that's one of the different elements. By the way, please don't hesitate to ask me all of your questions in the comment section so that I can answer them. I see that Andrea is saying it's coming up very soon. We need to make it. I agree. And I think that when I see the amazing members that are literally protesting every Friday since July and so on, I think we will make it. I am sure we will make it. Someone is asking, how can people volunteer? It's actually pretty easy. If you go on our website, you'll see a big red button that says join us, actually. And you can become a member and you'll receive an automated email explaining how to volunteer. And we'll help you protest or, explain the text on the sign to take a picture if you want to do it from home. And we need your support. Even if you can give us 10 minutes per week, it will be extremely useful and help us achieve a more democratic world. We function thanks to volunteers, thanks to people that are willing to give of their time. And it's also, and I think the volunteers following the live can say it's a lot of fun. And you will be part of an amazing global community of people who actually want to change the world and have fun along the way doing it. Abdul is saying, hi Abdul. Sorry, I'm just checking the different social medias at the same time. Perfect. So that's on our democracy campaign. Join us, volunteer, sign, share on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, with your grandparents, with your parents, with your colleagues, with people you meet on the street. We need your support. We need your help. Do it. And then we have a lot of upcoming campaigns coming up. Yeah, that worked. The first one that I can tell you about is last May, we worked a lot on a vaccine campaign to ensure that health workers across the world have access to vaccines regardless of their nationalities. They are the first ones on the front line protecting us. They need to be protected. And right now, I think the BBC published a few days ago that it would take until 2023 or 2024 for all countries to have access to the vaccines. So some already have access. I live in the UK. It's one of the countries that has the biggest access. Others will not have access until 2023, 2024. It's insane. We live on the same planet. We face the same virus. We should all be having access to this vaccine. And especially the health workers community across the world needs to have access first and be vaccinated. It's the only way they'll be able to support their population to fight the virus and to keep people safe. So we're thinking, following the success of this, we had the head of the WHO, the World Health Organization, that reached out and said he really liked our campaign. Couldn't really do anything about it, but really liked it. So following this, we want to find a way to relaunch this effort, because when we saw that countries will not have access to the vaccine for so long, it's not possible. So we're thinking and working on different ways to do so. If it's of interest, also please join us. We need support. We need human power to do it. And then I think maybe one also of the most important topics, well, with all of the others I'm going to mention, but one of the most important topic of our time is the fact that, sorry, my connection is paused on Instagram. Someone is saying Trump 2020. Well, no, democracy won. Biden won the vote. Biden 2020 for a democratic world. But beyond these political statements, we believe that due to the COVID, and it's not just due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there are huge economic recessions on the way. And a lot of people are suffering drastically from economic consequences. So a campaign we want to launch in the spring concerns youth economic inequalities and the lack of opportunities for the youth. So right now we're working on it with quite a few partners, and we're also exploring with our members from different continents how those economic realities and recessions are playing. So for example, the same thing is not happening obviously in France and in Taiwan and in Zimbabwe and in the US. So we are working together to try to find common solutions and common trends. But we want to launch a campaign to potentially detax parts of the youth so that they have more opportunities to ensure fiscal justice, so taxing digital multinationals like Facebook, Amazon, and so on that operate across the world, but don't really like to pay taxes across the world, to make sure that they pay their fair share. And there's another element that we want to work on, which is to end fossil fuels subsidies. The fact that, in the midst of a climate crisis, those still exist is insane. So we're working also on this campaign that will be happening this spring. And then just at the conclusion of last year, we did something called Green December. It was a month of individual actions by our members to change what's happening with the climate crisis. We want to do spin-offs of this. It was wonderful to see people coming together from all across the world. So we want to keep this going. So that's campaign-wise what is happening. And then, as I said, we keep our freedom and democracy campaign going. And finally, just maybe one last point I wanted to quickly mention was our community work. So when we launched Now a year ago, we did a lot of work and put a lot of emphasis on building local teams across the world. And this is because we believe as a global movement, it is fundamental to be anchored in local realities. There's no way around it. Local teams can speak to their peers, can speak to local problems, and really address what people care about. Unfortunately, very quickly, COVID hit, and it was no longer possible to keep on working on the ground in a lot of places. So we changed our engagement model to have more people work around our campaigns directly, since people couldn't work together on the ground. We're hoping that COVID will be gone soon. We're hoping that by after the summer, people will be able to meet in a more normal manner again. And so we are kickstarting again our community efforts, which means that last week we opened 40 local teams on all continents. And those are groups of people that come together and work together for NOW's visions, on NOW's campaigns, and work on local initiatives to really push them forward. We already have incredible ideas. One comes from, example, the US on renewable energies. I can't tell you more yet because it's in the making. But a lot of people, literally from Mumbai to Tulsa, to Tunis and London, are working at the local level to change the world. So this is super exciting, and we'll keep on pushing this forward in the next month so that our campaign down the line can be even more effective by having very strong groups on the ground. So I spoke a lot, but this is basically what we've been up to. And now, as always, I would like to quickly recap and then ask you to do one thing, and one thing only today. So as I said, today Zoe joined us as a social media manager. She will be amplifying the voice of Now and of the members all across the world to make sure that our campaign are successful and so on. Second, we're working super hard on our democracy campaign. The G7 is coming up in June, and the G7 has the power to really act on democracy by creating a League of Democracies that can protect freedom fighters, that can better democracy and innovate it. Third, we're about to launch 2 campaigns, one on equal access to vaccines, and this is so important in this moment in history where some countries will have to wait until 2023 to get access to COVID vaccines. And the second one on economic opportunities and inequalities for the youth. So due to COVID, due to economic recessions and so on, the youth is suffering even more than before across the world, and we need to do something about it. We have a lot of ideas. As always, we involve our members in the creation of it. So we'll be launching listening phase surveys, calls, and so on to do so. But those are some really cool initiatives we have. And finally, a big stream of work we have right now is on creating community teams, launching them, and working at the local level to change the world. It doesn't just need to be over the internet with big words, but you can start changing the world in your community. So that's the recap of this live. What I would like you to do today, just one thing, is to go on our website, and I'm sure my team will be posting the link again, but to go on our website and join us as a member. It takes 2 seconds. You can even join for free, and you will be, like this, kept updated of our campaigns, and you will be supporting our work. It is fundamental for us to grow this global network of people, and it is fundamental to get support in doing so. We are only as strong as the number of people who join us, and as the number of people who spend time with us whether it's over Twitter, whether it's on the ground, but working for a more united world where global challenges can be solved together, where climate change is no longer an issue, where migration flows are dealt with in a human manner, and where democracy is preserved. So please join us, be part of this crazy but beautiful adventure. And I personally can't wait to work with all of you. Have a great day, everyone.